The year was 2184. Humanity had come a long way since the first Galactic War. Earth, once broken and burning, now stood strong again. Cities were rebuilt. Colonies on the Moon and Mars grew larger every year. Space stations circled Earth like silent giants, watching the stars for danger. High above Earth floated Orbital Station Atlas, the largest defense station ever built by humans. It was shaped like a giant ring, with glowing towers and massive guns pointed toward the stars. Inside, soldiers and officers moved through bright metal halls, checking systems, preparing for anything. Commander Jack Carter stood at the large window in the command center. He looked down at Earth below, blue and peaceful. His face was calm, but his mind was always alert. Jack had seen war before. He knew peace could break in a moment. He turned when the door slid open behind him. "Commander," Captain Sarah Lynn said as she entered. She was sharp, quick, and the one person Jack trusted the most. "Scout Ship 7 is returning from Kralax space. They have something urgent." Jack nodded. "Bring them in." Minutes later, the scout ship docked with the station. The pilot, Lieutenant Mark Ellis, rushed into the command center. His face was pale. His hand shook slightly as he handed Jack a data chip. "They're building again, sir," Ellis said. "The Kralax, they're preparing for war." Jack took the chip and plugged it into the console. A hologram appeared, showing the Kralax fleet. Massive ships, hundreds of them. Factories working night and day. New weapons. Faster engines. Everything pointed to one thing, another attack. Jack leaned forward, studying the images. His jaw tightened. "Are you sure this is real?" Sarah asked. Ellis nodded. "We risked everything to get this. Their fleet is 3 times larger than before." The command center fell silent. Everyone watched Jack, waiting for his word. Jack stood straight and turned to Sarah. "Call the UEC High Council. We need an emergency meeting. Now." Sarah nodded and left to carry out his orders. Jack stayed by the window, looking down at Earth again. He thought about the last war. Millions had died. Cities had fallen. But Earth had survived. After the war, Earth had sent a message to the stars. Attack again and be annihilated. It had been almost 20 years since then. Jack had hoped the galaxy would remember, but the Kralax had not. He closed his eyes for a moment. He knew what was coming. War was coming again. The large meeting hall of Orbital Station Atlas was silent. Leaders from every part of Earth's defense network had gathered. The members of the United Earth Command High Council sat at a long black table. Their faces were hard. Their eyes showed fear. They had all seen the data from the scout ship. Holograms floated in the air above the table, showing the Kralax fleet growing in the dark corners of space. The enemy had not just rebuilt. They had doubled their power. Jack Carter stood at the end of the table. His hands were behind his back. He had been asked to speak first. "We have confirmed it," Jack began. His voice was steady. "The Kralax Empire is preparing to strike again. This fleet is larger than anything we've ever faced." Some council members shifted in their seats. Admiral Preston, an older man with silver hair, leaned forward. "Commander Carter," he said, "should we strike first? Should we destroy them before they reach us?" Murmurs filled the room. Some nodded in agreement. Others shook their heads. Jack looked at all of them. He had already thought about this question. For days. For nights. He had no easy answer. But he knew what Earth had promised after the last war. "No," Jack said. His voice was louder this time. "We made a promise to the galaxy. We warned them once. We said that if they attack again, they will be destroyed. We must remind them of that warning. One final time." Some council members protested. "They won't listen," one shouted. "They're already moving to attack," another added. Jack raised his hand. The room grew quiet again. "If we strike first, we become the very thing we fought to stop," Jack continued. "But if they ignore our warning again, then we end this once and for all." Admiral Preston leaned back in his chair, thinking. After a long pause, he nodded slowly. The other council members looked at each other. One by one, they nodded too. The decision was made. Jack turned to Sarah Lynn, who stood nearby. "Prepare the message," he said. Sarah walked to the control panel. She opened a live broadcast channel to the Kralax Empire, the same channel used 20 years ago when Earth had sent its first warning. The message was short. It had to be. Sarah looked at Jack. He gave a single nod. She pressed send. The message traveled across space, straight to the Kralax homeworld. This is the United Earth Command. You were warned once. We seek peace, not war. But hear this. Attack again and be annihilated. When the message was sent, the room fell quiet again. No one spoke. No one moved. The waiting began. For the next 2 days, Jack stayed on Atlas. Every hour, he asked for updates. He walked the halls. He looked at the stars through the station's wide windows. He slept little. He ate even less. Finally, on the 3rd day, Sarah entered the command center again. "Commander," she said softly. "We've received a reply." Jack turned slowly to face her. His heart pounded in his chest. "What do they say?" he asked. Sarah's face was pale. "It's not what they said, sir. It's what they did." She swallowed hard. "Our long-range sensors show the Kralax fleet is moving. They're coming straight for Earth." Jack closed his eyes. His fists tightened at his sides. The final warning had failed. Just like before, he turned to the crew. "Sound the alarm," Jack ordered. "Prepare the fleet." Sarah looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's happening again, isn't it?" Jack nodded. "Yes, it's happening again." Far from Earth, deep in the Kralax system, the Kralax High Command gathered inside their war chamber. The walls of the chamber were covered in dark metal. Glowing red lights gave the room a cold and heavy feeling. At the center stood General Vortizel, the supreme commander of the Kralax Empire. He was tall and thin, with dark blue skin and eyes as sharp as blades. His long black armor reflected the red light. He stood before a large display showing Earth's message. The message had played over and over again in the chamber. "We seek peace, not war. But hear this. Attack again and be annihilated." Vortizel let out a dry, cold laugh. His commanders stood in silence, watching him carefully. "They speak the same words as before," Vortizel said, turning to his officers. "They think they scare us with their threats." The Kralax had not forgotten the First Galactic War. They had suffered defeat. Their ships had burned. Their pride had been crushed. The Kralax Empire had promised never to fall again. For 20 years, they had rebuilt in secret, growing stronger, faster, deadlier. Vortizel raised his hand and pointed toward the large map showing the path to Earth. "We will burn their worlds," he said. "We will wipe their name from stars." One of his top advisors, Zorak, stepped forward. "General, they destroyed our fleet last time. Earth's weapons are powerful." Vortizel glared at him. "And we have grown far beyond what we were then. This time they will fall." Zorak bowed and stepped back without another word. Vortizel turned toward the fleet display. He smiled slightly. "Send the fleet," he ordered. "Show no mercy." His officers moved quickly, opening channels to the war fleet. Across the Kralax system, massive ships powered up. Engines roared. Cannons locked into place. Fighters lined up in long rows. The fleet began to move toward Earth, dark as a shadow covering the stars. But Vortizel had planned more than just brute force. He had spies already placed near Earth. Their mission was simple: disable Earth's early warning systems, leaving the planet blind to the approaching fleet. Hours later, in a hidden base near Earth's outer defense grid, 2 Kralax agents worked in silence. They had disguised themselves as human engineers. No one had suspected them. The taller agent, Gorvek, connected a small black device to the defense control panel. Lights on the panel flickered and went dark. "That's it," Gorvek whispered. "Their sensors are blind now." The other agent, Sarek, nodded. "The fleet will arrive before they even know." The 2 agents quickly left, their mission complete. Back on orbital station Atlas, the crew noticed something strange. Long-range scanners were failing. Warning systems went dark one by one. Jack Carter was called to the control room. "Commander," Sarah said, worry in her voice. "Something's wrong with the grid. We can't see beyond our outer ring." Jack frowned. "Get the engineers on it now." They worked for hours, trying to fix the system, but the damage had already been done. The Kralax fleet had gained precious time. Finally, a technician managed to restore part of the grid. A new image flashed on the main screen. Jack and Sarah stared at it in shock. The Kralax fleet was much closer than they expected. They were already moving past the outer moons. Jack's heart sank. The enemy was already almost at Earth's doorstep. He clenched his fists and turned to Sarah. "We've been set up," Jack said through his teeth. "They blinded us on purpose." Sarah's face turned pale. "What do we do now?" Jack took a deep breath. There was no more time to wait. No more time to hope they would turn back. "We prepare for the worst," Jack said. His voice was hard now. "Alert all stations. Full battle alert. This is it." Sirens began to ring across the station. Lights flashed red. Earth's fleets started to move into position. The final battle had begun. The sound of alarms filled every corner of Orbital Station Atlas. Red lights flashed on walls and floors. Soldiers rushed through the halls. Officers called out orders. The entire station moved like a machine preparing for war. Commander Jack Carter stood in the middle of the command center. He watched the Kralax fleet moving closer on the screen. His mind raced. He knew they had little time left. Earth's defenses had been weakened by the sabotage. The enemy was already too close. Jack turned to Sarah Lynn. "Contact the Mars Command Fleet," he ordered. "Tell them to move to Earth's orbit now." Sarah nodded and started working the controls. Jack moved to the main table where a large map of the solar system glowed. He could see Earth, the moon, and the Kralax fleet approaching like a dark wave. He pressed a button and opened a communication link to every major station and ship. "This is Commander Carter," he said, his voice steady and clear. "The Kralax fleet is almost here. We will not strike first. We will hold our ground. Prepare all defenses. Prepare all ships. Earth must stand ready." Across the solar system, Earth's fleets came to life. Ships left Mars, Titan, and Earth's orbit. Fighters filled the black sky like swarms of steel bees. Giant warships took positions between Earth and the enemy. Back in the command center, Sarah spoke again. "Sir, the Mars fleet is moving into position. Earth's defense grid is back online, but we're still running at 70%. Jack nodded. 70% wasn't enough, but it would have to do. Then came a moment Jack had hoped to avoid. A message from the Earth High Council appeared on the screen. Admiral Preston and other leaders looked down at him. "Commander Carter," Admiral Preston said, "we have reviewed the situation. We believe the Kralax fleet is too large. We recommend a preemptive strike on their homeworld. Take the battle to them before they reach Earth." Jack stared at the screen. He knew this plan. It had been written long ago in case Earth ever faced this kind of threat again. A direct attack on the Kralax homeworld. But such a move would kill millions of innocent lives. Kralax civilians. Their cities. Their people. Jack looked around the room. His officers watched him, waiting for his choice. Sarah stepped closer to him and spoke softly. "Jack, if you order the strike, there's no turning back." Jack thought of the last war. He thought of the message Earth had sent after it ended. "We seek peace, not war." Were those words just empty now, or did they still mean something? He looked back at Admiral Preston. "No," Jack said firmly. "We will not attack first. We stand by our word." Preston's face hardened. "If Earth falls, it will be on you, Commander." Jack didn't blink. "I accept that." The Council ended the call without another word. Jack took a deep breath and turned to his team. "We stand ready. We fight only if they strike first." The waiting was the hardest part. Hours passed. Every screen showed the Kralax fleet drawing closer. Every officer felt the weight of what was coming. Jack stayed by the window again, looking at Earth below. Sarah stood beside him. "You made the right call," she said softly. "I hope so," Jack replied. Suddenly, the sensors flashed red. An officer called out, "Commander, the Kralax fleet has entered Earth's defense zone. They're preparing to attack." Jack turned back to the command table. His voice was sharp now. "Lock all weapons. Hold position. Do not fire unless they fire first." Seconds felt like hours. Everyone held their breath. Then it happened. The Kralax fleet opened fire. Massive energy blasts streaked toward Earth's defense lines. The waiting was over. Jack slammed his fist on the table. "All units, return fire. Defend Earth." The war had begun. The first blast from the Kralax fleet hit Earth's outer defense stations with terrifying force. Bright explosions lit up the black sky. Steel tore apart. Defense towers shattered. Ships near the front lines tried to hold, but they were outnumbered. The enemy fleet was bigger than anything Earth had ever faced. Commander Jack Carter watched the live battle feed from the command center of Orbital Station Atlas. His jaw clenched as he saw Earth's outer defense lines falling fast. The Kralax ships were moving like a giant wall, pushing toward Earth with no signs of slowing. Status report. Jack called. Captain Sarah Lynn spoke quickly. We've lost 3 defense stations. The Mars fleet is engaging the enemy, but they're taking heavy fire. Our fighters are holding the second line, but they can't stop them for long. Jack knew this battle was not going in their favor. The Kralax fleet had come prepared. Earth's fleet was fighting with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. Jack looked at the main screen. In the center of the enemy fleet, he saw one ship larger than all the rest. The Dreadlord, Vortizel's flagship. Jack turned to Sarah. Prepare the Titan. Sarah's eyes widened. The Titan? Are you sure? Jack nodded without hesitation. It's our last hope. The Titan was Earth's most powerful warship. It had been built in secret after the last war. No enemy had ever seen it. Its armor was thick. Its weapons were unmatched. But it had never been tested in real battle. Minutes later, Jack and Sarah stood on the bridge of the Titan. The ship rumbled as its massive engines came to life. Hundreds of crew members moved to their stations, ready for orders. Jack stood in front of the bridge window, staring out at the battlefield. Take us to the front line, Jack ordered. Full speed. The Titan moved through the fleet like a silent giant. Its guns lit up, firing heavy blasts that tore through enemy ships. The crew cheered as Kralax destroyers exploded one by one. But the Kralax kept coming. On board the Dreadlord, General Vortizel watched the Titan's arrival. He leaned forward in his command chair. So, Earth brings out its best, Vortizel whispered. Let them try. The Kralax fleet shifted. Dozens of enemy ships turned to face the Titan. Jack knew what was coming. Brace for impact, Jack shouted. The Titan shook as wave after wave of enemy fire slammed into its armor. Lights flickered. Alarms hung. But the Titan held firm. Return fire, Jack ordered. The Titan's main cannons roared to life. Bright beams of energy tore through the enemy ships. 1, 2, 3. The Kralax line broke for a moment. Earth's fleet pushed forward, following the Titan's lead. But it wasn't enough. The Kralax regrouped fast. More enemy ships poured in. The battlefield was a storm of fire and metal. Ships exploded on both sides. Fighters spun and crashed. The sky looked like it was burning. Sarah looked at Jack, her voice tense. We can't hold this line much longer. What are your orders? Jack stared at the Dreadlord on the screen. He knew Vortizel was there, watching, waiting. Jack opened a communication channel to the Kralax fleet. His voice echoed across space. Vortizel, this is Commander Carter of Earth. You still have a choice. Turn back, leave now, or face your end. For a moment, there was silence. Then Vortizel appeared on the screen. His face was cold. His black armor reflected the red battle lights. You still believe your words matter? Vortizel sneered. You are finished, human. Earth will burn. The screen went black. Jack knew the enemy had made their choice. He turned to Sarah. Prepare the solar lance. Sarah's eyes widened again. You really want to use it? Jack nodded. It's the only way. The solar lance was Earth's deadliest weapon. A massive energy beam, powered by the sun itself. It had never been used before. But now, Jack knew they had no other choice. Sarah took a deep breath, preparing the solar lance. Jack looked around at his crew. They all waited for his final command. He spoke calmly, but firmly. Get ready to fire on my mark. The Titan shook again as another wave of Kralax blasts hit its side. Lights dimmed across the bridge. Warning alarms blared through the ship. Outside, Earth's remaining ships kept fighting, but the battle was turning against them. The Kralax fleet pressed harder, pushing deeper toward Earth's defense grid. More of Earth's ships exploded. Fighter pilots gave their last breath trying to hold the line. But the enemy fleet was too large, too many. Commander Jack Carter stood firm on the Titan's bridge. His face was calm, but his heart was heavy. He knew there was only one option left. The solar lance. Status report on the solar lance. Jack ordered, turning toward Captain Sarah Lynn. Sarah stood at her station. Her hands worked quickly over the controls. Sweat rolled down her forehead as she read the data. "Almost ready, sir. We are charging the main core now," she answered. "Targeting system is locked on the Kralax fleet." Jack nodded. He looked around the bridge. Every officer stared at him. They all knew what this meant. The Solar Lance had enough power to wipe out the enemy fleet in one strike. But it was dangerous. If they missed, there would be no second shot. Sarah spoke again, her voice low. "Sir, this is our last chance." Jack took a deep breath. He opened a final wideband channel to the enemy fleet. His voice was steady and clear. "General Vortizel, this is your final warning. Turn back now, or face total destruction." Silence filled the bridge. For a moment, no one moved. Then, the screen lit up again. Vortizel's face appeared. He leaned forward, his black armor gleaming in the dim red light of his warship. "You talk too much, Earth Commander," Vortizel growled. "We are already here. You have lost." The screen went dark again. Jack turned back to Sarah. His face showed no fear. "Fire the Solar Lance." Sarah hesitated for half a second, then pressed the final control. "Firing Solar Lance," she called. All across Earth's fleet, everything seemed to stop. Ships held position. Guns fell silent. All eyes turned to the Titan. Above the Titan, a giant ring of light formed. Energy pulled from the sun itself began to gather into the Lance's core. The light grew brighter, hotter, until it filled the entire space around the Titan. The Kralax fleet noticed. They turned their guns toward the Titan. Dozens of enemy ships rushed forward, trying to stop the Lance from firing. Jack watched them come. "Hold your fire," he ordered. "Let them come." The energy in the Solar Lance reached its peak. The ring of light narrowed into a single, bright beam. Jack raised his hand. "Fire!" A beam as wide as a city shot out from the Titan. It ripped through space like a sword of light. The Kralax ships didn't stand a chance. The beam hit the center of their fleet and tore through every ship in its path. The Dreadlord, Vortizel's massive warship, was hit dead center. It exploded in a ball of fire and metal. One by one, the rest of the Kralax ships followed. Their engines burned, their weapons shattered. In seconds, the once mighty fleet was gone. The black sky was filled with wreckage. Silent, dead. On the Titan's bridge, the crew stood frozen. No one spoke. No one moved. They had won. The battle was over. Sarah broke the silence first. She turned to Jack, her voice soft. "It worked, it's over." Jack didn't answer right away. He stood staring at the empty battlefield. His heart was still heavy. So many had died. The cost of peace was never small. But Earth had survived. He turned to the crew. "Stand down," he ordered. "Prepare rescue teams. Check for survivors. Bring our people home." The crew moved quickly. The Titan's engines powered down. Earth's fleet slowly began to regroup. The Kralax fleet was gone. The threat was over. For now. The wreckage of the Kralax fleet floated silently in space. Fire and smoke drifted among broken ships and shattered engines. The battle was over, but the price was clear. Both sides had lost many lives. Earth had won, but the victory felt heavy. The Titan moved slowly through the battlefield. Rescue ships and drones followed behind. They searched the wreckage for any survivors, both human and Kralax. Commander Jack Carter had given strict orders. No one is left behind. No one. On the bridge, Jack stood with Captain Sarah Lynn at his side. They watched the cleanup through the wide front window. The silence felt strange after the noise of battle. Reports came in one after another. Most of Earth's outer defense stations had been destroyed. Hundreds of Earth ships were gone. Thousands of soldiers had died defending their home. But the people of Earth were alive. The planet had survived. Sarah turned to Jack. Her voice was low, full of exhaustion. "We stopped them. It's finally over." Jack nodded. "For now." Sarah frowned. "You really think they'll try again?" Jack didn't answer right away. He looked out at the stars. The galaxy was wide, full of life, full of danger. He knew that somewhere, someone was already planning the next move. But that wasn't today's fight. "We've shown them what happens if they try," Jack finally said. "The galaxy has seen our warning is real. The Titan returned to Orbital Station Atlas. The station had taken damage, but it still stood. The crew of the Titan stepped off the ship. Soldiers lined the halls, standing in silence. Many had lost friends. Many had lost family. The United Earth Command High Council sent a message to every colony, every station, every city on Earth. The Kralax Empire has been defeated. Earth stands safe once again. We remind all worlds of our warning. We seek peace, but we will not fall. If you attack again, you will be destroyed. News spread across the galaxy. Worlds listened. Governments took notice. Some feared Earth's power. Some respected it, but none could ignore it. Later that night, Jack stood alone at the large window in the command center. He looked down at Earth. The blue planet floated in the dark like a jewel. Peaceful, quiet. Sarah walked up beside him. They stood together in silence for a moment. "What now?" Sarah asked softly. Jack sighed. "We rebuild. We remember those we lost. And we wait." Sarah nodded. "You think they heard us this time?" Jack stared at the stars. He knew the answer. They heard us. The whole galaxy heard us. He placed his hand on the glass, as if reaching for the Earth below. "We warned them," Jack whispered. "Now, the galaxy knows. Earth stands ready." The lights in the command center dimmed. The station fell quiet once again. Earth turned slowly in the darkness, alive, breathing, waiting for whatever came next.